Welcome everybody. My name is Seyoon Choi. I work as a Blind Community Enrichment Associate for the Lighthouse for the Blind St. Louis, and today I want to personally welcome you to our edition of the Braille Box, which is all about labeling. And in front of me I have a box of PenFriend 3, which should be in your box. And I want to quickly go through the contents of the box, see what's in it, and walk you through how to use it and the operations of it. So I'm going to go ahead and open the box. It's a plastic box in a vertical rectangle shape. It's the right side up, and you'll have a paper slat that unfolds to the left. Inside the box you'll see a label. These are sticky labels. They have adhesives on the back. You can stick it onto any items that'll be on the box or whatever. We'll talk about different use cases for that. In here you'll find multiple more labels you can feel with your fingers. They're like stickers, and you can stick onto whatever items you would like. You'll have a print instruction booklets, but in the box you'll have that in Braille. You have a lanyard with a metal opening clip. You could stick it on the back of the pen, to the side. And you have a rubber band with about 10 magnetic labels. These are really useful when you have metal items like a can and whatnot. Stick it on, and you have this plastic like card which can be hooked on a keychain. And at last you have an actual pen. It's a long, not exactly a circular tube like you would imagine it's like a conventional pen, but you'll have different sized buttons and stuff. So that's what comes in the box. Alright, so now that I have a PenFriend on my left hand and a lanyard on the right hand, I personally highly recommend to everybody with a PenFriend, just because it is easy to carry. It's an everyday kind of low-tech item. So the way this works is there's a metal clip and there's a tab. It's a bump, and you kind of pull that back and the clip kind of opens up, and at the top of the pen, it's a thicker end. There's like a loop. You kind of push that through. And put this around my neck, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the features of the pen. So starting from the top of the pen, you have a speaker grill. This is where your audio comes out. Towards the top edge of the pen, there are 4 buttons. So starting from the top, pen tip pointing downward, you have a large kind of high contrast yellow buttons. All these buttons are very high contrast, so it's easy to see against the darker color of the actual body of the pen. The largest button at the very top, separated away from 3 rows of buttons, is the power button. You tap and hold that to turn that on. Below that you'll feel a slightly more recessed bump, which is a record button. So we'll talk about how to record. Think of it like a staircase, so it gets flatter and flatter as you work your way down. So the second button right below the record button is to change the volume. So you would tap it, just a quick little press to change the volume. The most recessed button, this is a mode button, so you would tap this and then you could cycle through different modes. But obviously we're gonna focus, for the sake of this video, we're gonna focus on just the most essential part of what this pen is intended for, which is voice labeling. So that's the mode button. Work your way down, you'll feel 2 like glossy kind of finish on either side, and at the very bottom of the pen you have the tip where you would point this towards the label to record. At the back of the pen you have a rigid kind of ribbon, like rivet kind of cover, a plastic cover. You could pull the tab to open the cover, where it has 2 AAA batteries. That's how you would replace that. On the right side of the pen, you have the glossy finish on either side I've described earlier. Working your hands towards the top where the thicker part of the pen is, there's a micro USB port, which is like a cutout of a small square or rectangle. This connects via computer. Above that there is a headphone jack. So that's essentially the physical aspects of the pen, and I want to focus real quick on the powering on aspect. So the button at the very top, the biggest one, is power. So you would tap and hold that for a little bit, you'll have an audio. It'll make that noise, and there's actually a light right in between the record and power button. So that indicates that it is on. It'll flash pretty brightly, and you tap and hold that to turn that off. So now that we went over the features, physical elements of the device, I want to get to the practical use case for PenFriend. How does it actually work? I first want to mention that I do live independently and I have a kitchen, and I see a huge benefit to labeling. One being that you could identify everything that is in your kitchen with complete with its instructions, and you could store as much information with all these labels, and then organize your kitchen in a way that makes sense to you. So in order to demonstrate how PenFriend works, I have the sample label sheet that came in the box. So I'm going to bring that pen close to the label, tap it.
Batteries. PenFriend runs on 2 AAA batteries.
We're going to go ahead and press the power button just briefly to pause that. So that's essentially how it works. But now we're going to get into the process of making your own labels. So here I have a jar of pizza sauce. And for this, because it has a metal lid, I decided to use a magnetic label. So at the bottom you can feel the difference. This feels more smoother, this feels a little bit cooler to the touch, symbolizing that it is magnet. Bring it kind of close to the top. Now it doesn't have to stay tight. As long as it's snug, it's not going to fall off right away. Take the pen. The record button is located just below the power, the second higher bump. Press and hold the record button, bring it close to the label. Once you hear the beep, count about 3 seconds in your head and then speak your label. And once you're finished, you're going to press that button again recording. So let's give that a shot. So tap and hold the record button, bring it to the label. Jar of pizza sauce. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and test that by bringing the pen close to the label here. Just like that. That's how the PenFriend works. These labels are recyclable, reusable. So I'm gonna take that off of the pizza sauce and say we want to put this on a can of soup. I could go ahead and repeat the process. Press and hold the record button, touch on the label. A can of tomato soup. Push. And we're gonna go ahead and tap that on the same label that we used on the pizza sauce earlier. Now that has silence for whatever. Sometimes it takes a couple tries, so I'm gonna go ahead and try that again.
A can of tomato soup.
And that label's been replaced by the new recording. So that's essentially how these labels work. And whether that be a magnetic label or the sticky labels that are in like a circular sticker shape, the concept is really the same.